Now let's start off with a quote from a paper released last year by Activision on skill-based matchmaking. One of the core design principles of Call of Duty is player first. Players of all levels should have fun and competitive experiences with the game. Team balance is the first and most important reason to track skill. If we don't know how we expect players to perform in a match, then we can't provide a balanced in-match experience for the players. This results in blowouts, which we know are not fun for players on the losing end. Now, I have never, and after this will rarely make a video like this, a video which is specifically critiquing a design decision. This channel is all about shedding positive light on good game design decisions and mechanics, but I just feel way too strongly about this one. And don't worry, this is of course a feelings-led argument, but is going to be backed up by data and evidence like most of my videos. Now, I played a hell of a lot of the Black Ops 7 open beta, and although it wasn't the biggest iterative jump we have seen between releases, I was impressed by a lot of the small changes like health bars, the wall bounce, and some of the new equipment you can use. Some really nice design decisions to benefit the overall experience. However, about halfway through the open beta, the developers introduced open versions of certain playlists, which means that if you played the open versions of the playlist, you were playing a version with minimal consideration regarding matchmaking. Now, since then, they have gone further to say that the open playlist will be the default playlist at launch. So now I'm going to spend the next however long this rant will last explaining why this is a terrible design decision. Hopefully you enjoy, and if you don't agree, hopefully you at least see where I'm coming from. Firstly, for those who don't know, let me explain skill-based matchmaking. Recently, I covered how Rematch does it, but every game does it differently. Call of Duty uses a hidden skill rating, performance metrics such as KD, wins and losses, etc. Mode-specific factors, so TDM weighs KD higher, domination focuses more on score per minute, dynamic adjustments, so results from recent games, and lobby cycling. Other metrics such as skill disparity, which is the skill percentile difference between the best and the worst player in the party, is also considered, kills per minute, score per minute, and of course a bunch of other KPIs, which are key performance indicators, are considered. All of these metrics are used entirely to give you a competitive but also consistent experience each time. However, for balance, I will point out that a paper released by Activision in 2024 regarding how their matchmaking works, skill/performance is a big factor, but there are other factors at play, such as connection, time to match, recent maps and modes, input device, voice chat, platform, and more. However, these are supplementary, and these parameters aren't designed to influence the average skill of a lobby, but more so after the average skill parameter is met, these other factors take precedent to create an even better experience, which is more than likely going to be the case in open matchmaking as well. So if you're a player that wants a multiplayer shooter, where whenever you boot up a game, you know what you're getting yourself in for, you know the challenge you're going to face, and just overall what the experience you are going to have. Honestly, I haven't played a game that's better at providing that expectation than Black Ops 6 or 7. However, there has been a vocal minority that has gotten louder and louder in recent times that want the opposite of that, which by the way, off the bat, I think fundamentally is a valid take. So let's take the benefits of open matchmaking, which again is matchmaking with minimal consideration of skill, meaning all the factors I've just listed. Basically, all the benefits are the opposite of the benefits of skill-based matchmaking. So instead of consistent lobbies and consistent challenges, you get varied lobbies where one game you might easily win, but the next game might be an incredibly tough challenge. That is completely valid and positive experience for the people that want that. It also means that for the players who are a bit more in the know and can feel those sliders change, like they know that after 3 losses they are guaranteed a win, but don't like that they can feel that the game is essentially giving them that win, then open matchmaking returns agency to the player. Again, great for that particular player type. Now, that all sounds great for that particular audience, and maybe having it as a default isn't the worst, but now I want to break down who that particular audience actually is, and who is actually going to benefit from this. So let's look firstly at Black Ops 6 ranked mode, ranked distribution, but then take a look at a couple of other games to get a better picture. The player percentages of different ranks are as follows: Bronze, 16%, Silver 16%, Gold 30%, Plat 21%, Diamond 11%, Crimson 2%, and Iridescent 0.5%. With Gold being deemed as average, specifically Gold 2, from these numbers you can see that 62% of the players who played ranked in Black Ops 6 are considered average players or below. If we include Plat as people who are slightly above average but comparable to Gold, then we have 83% of players who ranked in that category. Looking at Overwatch 2, we have Bronze 2.4%, Silver 12.6%, Gold 31.7%, Plat 34.9%, Diamond 14.9%, Master 3.2%, Grandmaster 0.3%, and Champion 0.1%. Again, if we look at from Plat and below, we have a total of 81.6% of players who play ranked being slightly above average or below. Very similar to Black Ops 6's 83%. Finally, we have a look at Dota 2. Herald 11.92%, Guardian 13.79%, Crusader 24.46%, Archon 18.72%, Legend 12.21%, Ancient 9.19%, Divine 5.51%, and Immortal 4%. Looking at Akron, which is Dota 2's Plat essentially, we have a total of 69% of the players being slightly above average or below. To fully make my point, I need to combine what we've seen here, which is the majority of players in competitive games are often either just above average players or below, with another point, which is the higher the rank and the longer the duration of the game's lifespan, the bigger the skill gap, and the bigger the impact of that skill gap is, which is by far the most important thing I want to tell you. A skill gap, for people who don't know, is the difference in ability or proficiency between different players. Firstly, based on the data and evidence published by Activision, over time the average skill percentile disparity, which is the difference between skill level, rises over time. This directly results in tougher and tougher matches for lower skill players who are just not progressing up in skill, which is completely common and valid for less competitive players, which again is the majority of players as we have just outlined. Then let's bring it back to the actual problem. The data I have just mentioned also heavily implies that if the majority of players are average or below, then the majority of lobbies will have mostly average or below players in. This is where I want to highlight and really drive home the point of how impactful and damaging the inclusion of just one or two highly skilled players are in these lobbies. To explain this, we are going to be taking a lot from the paper I've referenced a couple times now, published by Activision in 2024. A quote about team balancing. The average skill of multiple players is predictive of their combined skill. This allows for a very efficient and predictive team balancing. Team balancing is very important for forming games where the outcome is unpredictable. Blowouts result in players leaving the game, which adversely affects the player pool. Team balance is incredibly important, as just minor differences between the skill disparity in teams and between teams can massively change the likely chance of winning that game. So in skill-based matchmaking, team balancing, which is the percentile difference between the best and worst player in each team, is incredibly important. Not only for well-balanced games, but also to avoid another outcome which the devs have the data for, the fact that blowouts results in the players leaving the game, which adversely affects the player pool. The paper continues to say that we can see that the win rates are significantly affected by small team skill differences. Let's consider a lobby of 12 50th percentile players. If just one of those players was an 80th percentile player instead, corresponding to a 0.1 increase in raw team skill, that player's team would have a 70+% chance of winning. Looking at the ranks mentioned earlier, in other words, if we had an entire lobby full of gold players, but just one diamond player, not even crimson or iridescent, then the team that has the diamond player has a huge advantage. If that player was crimson, it would be an almost guaranteed win based on the data. Now, with minimal skill consideration, we aren't talking about opening the door to one diamond player. We are talking about a complete free-for-all, Wild West, where it's not even the fact that individual team skill differential ranges are bigger, but they have no relation to each other either. Now, I just want to quote one final point, which will then lead me on to my conclusion. Now, this is where I got truly baffled during my research. One of the core design principles of Call of Duty is player first. Players of all levels should have a fun and competitive experience with the game. Team balance is the first and most important reason to track skill. If we don't know how we expect players to perform in a match, then we can't provide a balanced in-match experience for players. This results in blowouts, which we know are not fun for players on the losing end. Not fun for players on the losing end. This is the entire problem. From all the data we have just gone through, from rank distribution to skill percentile disparity to team balancing and its significant impact on the experience, who is going to benefit from this change? Who is going to be punished from this change? The answer to who is going to benefit is the top 10% or less of the player base, which by and large are the vocal minority. The top 10% of players are sick of being constantly challenged by people of similar skill level, and because the game either costs 70 quid or a month Game Pass subscription, isn't nearly as cheap or easy to smurf on than Valorant, CSGO, Overwatch or other competitive titles. The players which are going to be punished for this change by and large are the average players and below, the 60 to 80% of the player base. case, the overwhelming majority of players, most of which just come home from work and want a couple of games to take their mind off things, and then feel good for getting a few kills and contributing to a win. This is why I feel so strongly about this design decision. I can't remember a time when such a public change to a game has been so clearly in benefit of those who stream and those who play competitively, and adversely affect the players who make up the true health of the game, the players who really matter in all of this. I am baffled by this design decision to like no end. Now, I do want to know what you guys think in the comments as well. I may be getting the complete wrong end of the stick on this, but at the same time, I think a lot of what I just talked about is valid. Also, the fact that Activision said as much in their paper last year, specifically about skill-based matchmaking being player first, and then the fact that they want to remove it, I just can't understand it. Anyway, I'm going to calm down now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this type of game design content. Please leave a like so others can see this video, and keep on keeping on.